everyone. Welcome to our media call with Bev Priestman, head coach of Canada Soccer Women's National Team. First, Neil.
Thank you, Vanessa. Hi, Bev. I hope you and your family are well.
Hi, Neil.
You seem to have got some players back from injury. The 4 players back. Khadisha's back as well. 2 questions. One, did you get everybody that you wanted? And 2, given how close this camp window is to the games themselves, will your roster come from these 28?
Yeah, I think it's great to have the players back. I think, knowing where they're at in their injury rehab, I think June will be quite telling, and it's a critical piece for me in helping me decide the roster, because I think that'll happen pretty quickly after the June camp. So I needed to get these players in. So I think it's safe to say, besides, an injury that might happen before the camp, in the camp, that this group will move towards what the Tokyo Olympic roster will be.
Thank you.
Hi, Bev. I know Neil kind of asked this question, but just more specifically, you almost have a full camp. Is there any update at all on Diana Matheson? It's been the 3rd camp and she's not on the list. Do you have an update on her injury?
Yeah, it's still not where it needs to be, unfortunately. So it is looking really unlikely for Tokyo for Diana, unfortunately. So, I know she's been working hard, and there's still a professional career going on at the moment, or trying to get back for that first and foremost. So yeah, unfortunately, I think it's going to be very unlikely for Tokyo for Diana, which is, a great loss for Canada for this particular tournament. Experience, just what she brings to the group. I don't really need to touch on that, but yeah, unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be ready for Tokyo.
Thank you.
With regards to, Khadisha, it's been over a year since she's been with the team. I'm just wondering, with this camp coming so close to the games, how good is it to get her back into the fold, and especially, with as a first pair, as the first sort of choice pairing with Shalina at the back?
Yeah, I'm really excited to get Khadisha in. I think what Khadisha brings on the pitch speaks for itself, but I also have very quickly got to learn what Khadisha can also bring off the pitch. The group love Khadisha, and she's in a leadership group, brings some leadership qualities for such a young player. For what she's achieved so far in her career, I think when you add that to this group, you can't underestimate that. So it's great for me. I think the centre backs stepped up without Khadisha, and it's given me a great headache to know, what partnerships work in different games. But yeah, I think Khadisha's quality is only going to boost the squad. So I'm excited to get her in.
I was wondering if you could talk maybe about these upcoming matches and these opponents. What are you expecting from these 2 sides, and what kind of performances are you expecting from the players on the bubble who kind of need to make an impression with this roster limit? Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, I think to speak on the opponents first, Czech Republic, they're a good side. I think, I had the experience of playing them with England. It was a 3-2 game. It was, an awful game, to be quite honest, but they're a good team. Not to be underestimated, and definitely a different style to the Brazilians. So that'll give us another problem. So that game, we can't take lightly. And then Brazil, I'm excited to play Brazil, fingers crossed, with more of a stronger squad. I think that would be a great test for us. Brazil have done well of late, and so I think, that'll be a really good test for us to turn around a Czech Republic game, then into Brazil. 2 different opponents, turn around very quickly, very similar to what we'll face in the Olympics. And then I think just in terms of approaching this, it's a difficult one as a coach, because you want to get results and you want confidence so close to an Olympics. And then there's some question marks on players that you maybe need to see as well. So, I can't overbalance one way or the other. I think it's about us now zooming in a little bit on the Tokyo Olympic Games. But at the same time, seeing players that I might need to see to answer some questions, which, that 18-player roster is definitely keeping me awake at night, not making it easy for me, which is a good problem to have, I guess.
Hi, Bev. Wanted to ask you about your goalkeeping situation. Obviously, Steph has been the number one for quite a while. Kaylin's back in the mix now, and we know what she can bring. But you have Erin, who's coming off a strong performance in the NWSL, and with Sabrina back in the mix, just how hard is this decision to narrow it down to two?
Yeah, I think it's not even narrowing it to two, it's three, so we have two plus the alternate keeper. So yeah, it's difficult, but it's a great problem to have. I think, Kaylin, to me, when I'm watching her, you wouldn't know she'd been out in NWSL. I think that's great to see. Steph, in the last few games for us was outstanding. So those two have definitely done great job. And then you go and watch Erin play last week and was outstanding, made some great saves too. And Sabrina, it'll be the first time for me to have Sabrina in. So yeah, it's a difficult one. I think it's a good problem to have, and I think the number one spot is as wide open as it is in most positions. I think it's not a given right up until that first game. It's for me as a new coach, I think every day you get with a group of players is really important. So it's a difficult one.
Hey, Bev, I just wanted to know the logic behind selecting such a large group for the last camp, knowing that you only can take 18 players. What's the logic behind this?
I think it's twofold. The first one is in COVID reality and all the testing that has to happen before a camp and all the protocols. If someone gets injured on camp, then it's really difficult to get a quick replacement. And that's definitely one consideration as to, just trying to make sure we best equip the team. But I think secondly, it's genuinely, I didn't bring anyone that I'm like, it's a dead cert that they can't go to Olympic Games. So I think for me, it's really another opportunity to see this group. I've not had long at all in this role to be able to assess this group. Normally you'd have a 4-year cycle. So I'm giving myself, the country, the best chance of picking the best 18 players who are in front of me by the end of this student camp.
Hey, Bev, thanks very much for taking the time. In terms of your position, your roster positionally, is there a balance that you want to strike in terms of how many, defenders, strikers, midfielders you want to achieve? And outside of the goalkeeper battle, is there any position that you think that is really still up for grabs going into these games in June?
Yeah, I think when you ask about, the allocation across positions, what I'm currently doing and what you might see a little bit in the upcoming camp is which players can cover multiple positions, and that affords me to get the best players on that plane, and that's what I'm toying with at the moment is testing players in multiple positions who I feel are the most prominent, fittest, that can go across. So I don't have a dead certain number. Some of that will depend on fitness and who comes in, because if you're taking a player that's not 100% fit yet, that's a risk, and therefore do you need more players in that particular position? So yeah, it's not as easy as what I would like it to be. And then in terms of up for grabs, I've honestly got to say that both in the back line, midfield line and forward line, there's shirt up for grabs. I don't have like 16 players dead cert on this sheet. I could say I have maybe 2/3 of a group, and now it's about seeing what that blend and makeup. And I spoke about this group turning up ready in April. They definitely came more ready than she believes physically. But I'm interested now to see in this camp who turns up even more ready, because that'll answer some questions for me for, heat, acclimatization, back-to-back games, travel, all of the things that you get in Olympic Games. I've got to take all of that into consideration.
Thanks, Bev. Earlier you talked about the Czech Republic and your experience with it when you were with England. They've really been developing and very impressive in their play in against Switzerland. Can you talk a little bit more in terms of some of the players and what you saw from that team and how you'll try to address it when you play them?
Yeah, I think with Czech Republic, what we'll see is a team that are very good, like a bit more direct, and that'll pose a problem that we could face in Olympic Games. Maybe more of a front two when they're out of possession. So again, that relates to maybe what we might see with a Japan, a Team GB. So we've selected these teams, I guess, with what we might face in our mind. But I think it's not a Japan type style that we're going to play. But I think we haven't really faced that style either necessarily in the recent games we've had. So I just wanted to get like a more gritty, tough opponent that would bring a different style to what we've had in more predictable games, because you can come up against that. And, you know, don't get me wrong, a Chile is not the same directness, but they definitely have that in them as well. So just, I wanted to get that test that was a little bit different. But yeah, they have a great number 9 who can hold the ball up and people can play off that. So we can't take them lightly.
Bev, clearly you have a plan leading up to the Olympics, but it's going to be June any day now. Do you look at the calendar every once in a while and take a gulp of air, or is everything going according to plan?
Well, I feel much better today, Neil, because we've almost solidified our preparation camp. I think, you know, we're living in COVID, and I think with that, there's a lot of moving parts that we're working through. But I think, yeah, it's been a busy few weeks. We've been planning 3 camps, right? June camp, the preparation camp, and an Olympic Games. And I think, you know, ideally you've had 4 years to do that. And I think we're learning new information every day. But I think every team's got that reality. And yeah, I think we've learned to be adaptable. And we, like I've said, I think we just need to keep it simple. And that's the approach I've gone for, because I think, again, very, very limited time. This particular group have had way less than previous, because of our reality around how many players we have in Europe. So you don't necessarily get a lot of time outside of FIFA windows, etc. And so for me to overcomplicate it, I think would be dangerous. So we've just kept it simple, and we're ready to go in the next 3 camps.
Bev, I know you said you wanted to wait to the last possible second just to make sure your players were as close to fitness and can compete for those spots. But do you know exactly when you might announce your roster? Is it after this camp? Is it, you know, just before the Olympics? Can you give us a little insight into that?
Yeah, it'll be after this camp, probably within 10 days after this camp sort of finishes. So yeah, definitely before the Olympics. I would like to go into preparation camp really clear, allow the players that time to prepare and get their lives in order. It is a quick turnaround. So yeah, I would say probably a 10-day window after this June camp.
Bev, you mentioned the versatility in this 18-player squad earlier. There are certain players that we've seen play multiple positions before, say Ashley Lawrence, Gabby Carl. Are there players that you have seen in this camp who, you know, potentially this June window you might put in a position that we have not seen them play before, where you're going to try and see if they are versatile in other areas?
Yeah, there's a couple of players that if I have that luxury, I definitely feel I need to help me solidify the squad. So that's the plan. Without sacrificing too much on, I think, the momentum that we have at the moment and the belief going forward. I think we targeted in April, it was about getting 2 wins, and, you know, it'll definitely be the same in June, but that's a balancing act when you're trying to achieve both things. But that's my aim, is to test some players in some different positions as well.
You talked about the freshness aspect, Bev. Now, obviously, this is a very grueling competition and the games come thick and fast. It's such a small squad to have for a tournament, and I know it's nothing new, but how much does that factor in to you picking the squad, knowing that you're probably going to have to use all your subs in every game and just trying to get people that's maybe still got stuff left in their legs after what will be a tough season for a lot of them?
Yeah, it's absolutely a big consideration. You know, you ask yourself as a coach, if this player got injured and I had to play against a Tier 1 team, could this player then replace them, and would I be comfortable? I think that's what I'm finding myself asking myself now, is that particular question, because that's a reality. You know, players pick up niggles all the time. You can lose them for a major knockout game, and the next cab off the rank has to be at the level to be able to cope with that particular team. So it is working through those different scenarios and knowing which players have that durability to last and to, you know, to do that. But then you've got the balance of the experience. And I think this group is closer to 2016 than maybe 2012. You had a much older squad in 2012 Olympics. This 2016 group is a lot closer, but you also have players that are 4 years older as well. So it's trying to get that balance of experience and legs ready to get through this grueling tournament.
Thank you, Bev. Thank you, everyone. As always, if there are any follow-up questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you.